What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Boardroom podcast, where we help you stay calm, change lives, and have business on your term. I'm excited because I've got Amanda here, Amanda Northcutt. Did I say your last name right? I mean, it looked pretty straightforward, but
It's pretty straightforward. My maiden name is not straightforward. Northcutt. Yes, you got it.
okay. So, Amanda is an extremely high-level entrepreneur who helps creators and expert-based businesses not only start, but also scale their expert business. And she's got a bunch of experience in B2B in the corporate level. So when we're talking like ranges of things, she's got low entry points, and then we're talking like very premium high-end services being provided to business owners. So I'm excited to dive into your business model, because your business model is one that I would have loved to adopt for my mastermind when I was running it and doing more expert-based consulting, right? So Amanda's running her business model is what I now call more like revolving price, and she takes a very software approach to expert-based business and consulting. So I think that's why we jam and get along very well, because you're a very systematic thinker in how you approach things. So excited to dive into that. Tell us a little bit about your background, and how did you get to doing what you're doing now?
Well, long and winding road for sure. But I got my first job in sales at age 16 by accident. My parents asked our friends who owned a New Balance shoe store in Dallas, Texas, for a favor. I, for all intents and purposes, appeared to be an introvert at that time, and everybody expected me to fail. I didn't know that at the time, but it became quite clear. And that provided me the opportunity to completely come out of my shell. And I am very, very extroverted and fell in love with sales and business. I mean, almost immediately. I had completely found my lane, knew I wanted to go into business at age 16, and have really pursued that path hardcore. I started working full-time at age 19 in a sales role while I was still at university, and was just very, very successful at sales, working in a commission-only role. I built out this entire cash cow of this organization that is now like globally best in class at what they do. And then the bottom fell out of my health in kind of my mid to late 20s. And I mean, like, fell out. It was a little bit touch and go for a little while. And my husband and I had a little dude at that time. And it just, our life just kind of, the bottom fell out of my health and our entire life. I ended up having to quit my job and change everything. And so I was like freight train, hard charging, workaholic type. And all of a sudden, fighting for my life. I have a, infant son, and I had to find a way to make as much money as possible in about 20 hours a week, down from, 80. And, that was a hell of a task. But I ultimately was like, okay, I'm going to go into SaaS, because this is the early 2010s, and that was like the hot thing. So I was like, I got to follow the money. I have this very special skill set in creating recurring revenue. So I'm going to take that over to software. And I was very successful in that, and definitely accomplished and went way over and above, what I was making previously in about 20 hours a week. And left Silicon Valley at the end of 2022. I've been, an executive half a dozen times, and this was during COVID, and I kind of like, or at the end of COVID, but I had one of those epiphanies. It was like, I got to go do something that is more meaningful. I'm going to work for about 10 more years, and I want to make a difference. And so I basically have taken what I did for myself and turned it into this organization, Level Up Creators. And so we help experts, content creators, like the LinkedIn creator, if you will, monetize, like break free from the corporate model and monetize their knowledge specifically through our MRR method. That is our Level Up Creators methodology, where we help you create recurring revenue through a suite of digital products and product and service offerings.
I love that. And for you, because when you were, and I mean, the way that you came about having the constraint that you had with your health and having to go from working 80 hours to like 20 hours, but the constraint of producing the same level of income, that's a great constraint, right? And people don't really think about the trade-offs that they have to make in order to get to where they want to be. but you don't necessarily have to make those trade-offs if you have the right constraint. Or like, how do I 10x the business without doing 10x more work? Right. And in order to do that, you need to be exceptional at prioritizing strategy and creating leverage. Okay. So I want to unpack that. What are the things that you had to do differently to go from working 80 hours to produce the results that you were producing and going to 20 hours, but making sure you were able to maintain performance and even do better than what you were doing before?
Yeah, that's a great question. And looking back, I can now, this is all part of our methodology, the actual process that I went through to figure out how can I ethically exploit my most exponential lever. And so I think of this 3-circle Venn diagram, and it's like what you're passionate about, what your experience and expertise is in. And those are the first 2 circles you address. You got to find what's in the middle of those 2 circles. And then we overlay a 3rd circle, and it's what people will pay for. And, your an exponential lever in your business is the middle of that 3-circle bullseye, right in the middle, and figuring out, what do I love? What can I see myself doing for the next 10 years? What am I qualified to do that there is a demand for? What solutions do I have to solve people's painful, pervasive, urgent, expensive problems? And then once you kind of have identified that, you map out your methodology, and then you can overlay any number of product and service types into that and make a business. Yeah.
I love that. One of the things, the requirement to be a listener on this podcast is you need to be good at what you do. I have no patience for people who have not done the damn thing, and they're trying to charge an arm and a leg to do the damn thing. Right. So, for you, how important is it that the people that you work with actually have that expertise? Because you kind of, in that overlay, in that diagram, you're like, okay, what are the things that you are passionate about? What are the things that you're essentially kind of good at? And what are people willing to pay for? All right.
Well, your business will work a lot faster if you do have demonstrable expertise in the area that you are also passionate about. And sometimes people can't find the middle, that bullseye, without help and guidance. Like, that is a really hard thing to do, to sort of pull up to a 35,000 foot level and look back on your life experience and the challenges that you've had and how you've overcome those and how you've, kind of moved through the world. It's really hard to know how to take those identify those ingredients and then put them together in the right way. But everyone that we work with, they have the ingredients. They just can't quite put it together into a recipe that's going to yield exponential results, that like 50 to 100K a month level as a solopreneur.
Yeah. So essentially, if they've got experience, and I even look at kind of like your own track, right? They got experience doing something, but they're doing it in a way that they don't have a ton of leverage, right? But now they've gotten good at it, and their level of competence there, where they can, if they're able to repackage it in a way where they can provide it as a service, but on their own terms, right? Now they can have leverage. And I love the term that you said, ethically exploit their
Yeah,
lever. That is so good.
that matters.
Right. And I love words and how certain things are phrased, because they just create great framing and great
Hmm.
containers for being able to communicate visually what you're saying, but being able to ethically exploit that lever, right? And they're able to do that. They can package their expertise and their experience into a service or product that they can offer other people and other business owners, right? So, say somebody's wanting to come to you and go through that process. Like, what are the first things that they need to even identify to determine if they have a skill that somebody else is willing to pay for?
Usually people come to us at a stage, okay, we are a premium service, right? We have Level Up Creator School. That is an app. You can go to levelupcreatorschool.com. And that is like the beginnings of the productization of our consulting methodology, the MRR method. And that is our, lower ticket entry level item on our product ladder that you can come in and you can get help and kind of figure your shit out, right? Like, we will guide you through a process of figuring out what your special sauce is and if it is marketable. I think everybody has special sauce, but not everybody has special sauce that is going to yield financial results in the marketplace. And so determining kind of what that is by just asking a series of questions. Again, like what is your background? What are you most proud of? What are the challenges you've experienced? How have you overcome those? How do you view the world? And then again, what are you passionate about? And I mean, we have this literal product development table exercise that we take people through, and it is so revelatory and novel in a lot of ways. But ultimately, the litmus test is a business going to work? Is there a pocket of the internet full of, a type of person, an ideal customer persona who is feeling an unbelievable amount of pain such that they are actively seeking a solution that you are positioned to provide? I mean, that is the ultimate, will my business work? And then can you demonstrate through your marketing and sales efforts that you are the right person to solve that problem? Can you back that up with a guarantee, social proof? Can you get referrals and repeat business like expansion revenue to get you up and running? So those are all kind of things that we try and address very systematically when someone's at the beginning, because you want to know if it's not going to work. You want to know early and you want to know often to be able to pivot or abandon ship. So that we want to get people to that point quickly.
Yeah. Because I mean, if it's something that because people make the mistake of going all in on something before they even figure out if it's going to work. All right. Which I mean, in some cases, it's worked out for a few unicorns.
Yeah, but a few.
Who did that. But
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to look at the over glamorized results of a few kind of unicorns cases and be like, okay, I can replicate that. So if you can take a more tactful approach where you're like, okay, how do I know if this is going to be viable, right? What is that kind of like litmus test that you guys will take your clients through to make sure that this is really going to be a viable option? Like people throw MVP all around constantly, but they don't focus on the viable aspect, right? Like it's a key term. Is it actually going to be viable? Right.
Right. Will people buy it? I mean, the ultimate litmus test that is very difficult to pull off is you get people to pay for something before you build it. And, second best to that would be throw up a landing page where you're outlining specifically who it's for and why they should care, delineating the value outcomes and transformation of what your service or product will provide. And then, getting them to be on a wait list, ideally doing customer interviews with those people. So surveys, like the quantitative data aspect of a survey, right? If you've got any kind of social media following, even friends and family that might loosely fit your ideal customer persona, defining that persona is a very important step here. And then having the chutzpah to like do voice of customer interviews, get people on the phone, ask them a list of 10 questions in 20 minutes. And you damn well better understand your customer or you will never sell a thing ever. If you don't understand what value outcomes and transformation you can provide to the painful, pervasive problems that they're experiencing to the point where they're willing to spend potentially discretionary funds to solve this problem. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. But in terms of testing the marketing, like pre-validation, we love building landing pages, sending people to them, ideally getting people's credit cards. And then if you end up not building the thing, obviously you refund everyone. Again, second to that is wait list. If you have an email newsletter or have an email list, sending out some, doing some research by deploying some newsletters that are tangentially related, kind of like on topic, where the readers are not going to know that you're doing market testing, but your open and click-through rates will give you a lot of insightful quantitative information. And also headline, testing on whatever your social media platform or platforms of choices is very effective as well.
I mean, it sounds like you got to be willing to do the work to kind of do a little research to figure out if it's going to be viable. Even the process you mapped out reminds me of one of my buddies who's very prolific at building e-com brands, right? This guy is just like, he just does not miss. He does not miss. I'm like, bro, like how do you even do this? And one of the things he said he'll do is they'll build out a landing page and like a really well-designed product page. And they'll have the product that they want to sell mocked up and even the ability for somebody to purchase, right? And then they'd redirect them and be like, so sorry, we're out of stock. We're processing your refund immediately. Right. But those purchases, those like fake purchases will quickly validate, okay, this is legit. Right. We have the demand for it. We have people who want to buy it. And then they would go ahead and then build out the product and then reach out to everyone who added it to cart, and they were like, oh, sorry, you can't actually buy this thing, but we're out of stock, whatever it is. But we actually do, we're going to be producing it and we'll send it to you and we'll let you know as soon as it's ready. So that's how they would essentially kind of do that kind of like soft product research and figure out if this product is viable. Do people want it? Are they willing to spend money on it? And then they go balls to the wall and just build this thing out, go to China, find the manufacturers, get it built. And then it seems like no matter what he didn't miss, but only because he was doing those like micro market research before he brought anything to product.
He was firing bullets before a cannonball, right? You know that analogy? Like you fired tiny, cheap bullets that are, low risk and yield some kind of reward before you go all in and all your ammo in one place. I mean, that is how you don't miss, is you've got lots of practice shots in.
100%. And people don't really see that, but it's that kind of pre-work that saves you a ton of time. Right. So people willing to do that pre-work and just do that initial market research, figure out what are the things that their people may be interested in. Sounds like, I mean, if you do that work and you get it done, how much more confident are you going to be when you actually bring this thing to market and you start servicing people? All right. So for you haven't been, because you said you made the kind of like the transition in 2022.
At the end of 2022. Yep.
All right. So it's been, what have you learned in that time frame? Like what are like some of the biggest lessons that you kind of learned as you went to market and started to figure out how to structure the business in a way that is doing what it's doing now? All right.
Yeah, we had a really strong hypothesis going at this, and I started with a full team. I strategically plucked all of my favorite people from all of my past executive posts. So these were like known quantity, amazing experts in their field. And I mean, I've done consulting services. My last Silicon Valley gig was COO and CFO of a consulting firm for Silicon Valley, VC funded startups. And so I had a pretty strong hypothesis going in, and I generally knew the people that we wanted to help. We have a very strong emphasis on women, BIPOC, LGBTQ+. I've spent the vast majority of my career increasing the wealth of a single demographic, and again, wanted to do something very different that was very meaningful. And kind of one of our core values is pull others up the ladder. And so it's this concept of, I can't think of a better word other than like justice. Like people who don't ordinarily have a seat at the table, we're giving them a freaking seat at the table. We're building the table, and people are going to want to come sit at their table. And so kind of like started our business on the basis of my reputation, the reputation of my amazing team, and were able to get, our first couple of gigs and have refined our ICP over the last 2 years. And as I'm sure you could imagine, and ultimately have found that our customers are these LinkedIn creators or subject matter experts, knowledge creators, whatever we want to call them, solopreneurs. You know your shit, you're teaching what you know online, you've gathered this little pocket of folks on the internet, whether you have an email list or not, you've got, somebody's attention. And we are helping those people develop, test, refine their offers, right? And the funny thing is, people come to us thinking that they need to build a course because everything we see online is like, build a course and you'll make 6 figures and da-da-da. That's bullshit. Like full on bullshit for the vast majority of us. There are so few, like the percentage of creators and entrepreneurs who actually launch a low ticket course like that, who actually make into the 6 figures, is so small.
It's very small, and it's so counterintuitive because it requires so much more skill to execute. And people think because it's cheap, it's because it's cheap, it must be easy and simple to do. It's not. That is not the case.
No. And so we, define the special sauce, do the market pre-validation. We're helping people create high ticket offers. That's really where it's at, right? And so these are coaching, consulting, group programs primarily. And then once you have, your methodology really mapped out and you've proven that in a one-on-one or a one-to-few product or service, then you can roll out the product line, right? And increase the product ladder and get down to, membership, mastermind, course, all those kinds of things. But if you don't have an audience, especially, and you try and build and launch a course, I just feel that just guts me to even think about that scenario. And so many people do that. That is not how you work in iterations and run a low risk, high yield business. And we've learned this as well, over time, that people come to us and they think they want one thing, but they actually need something completely different. So there's definitely some mindset and education around that. Because I think like everybody's been sold a bill of goods by all these like icky internet marketers that I like really just cannot stand and have no tolerance for whatsoever. So yeah, we've learned a lot.
It's funny that you kind of say that because you're coming from the corporate world, and it's kind of hilarious because I never spent any experience in corporate America. Right. So my first, my first experience in an organization was like ministry. Right. So going from that to building my first business and then going online and now running the software company, I'm having to learn a lot of corporate jargon as we build as we build the tech. And as I'm having conversations with, we've had a good amount of investors reach out, really interested, right? And they have no idea what the online space is.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what's your market? Online businesses? Like, what? Right? And they're trying to think through the bucket where they're so used to brick and mortar law firms, insurance, car dealerships, health and wellness, like all these different like big categories. And I was kind of resistant to expanding. And then I started to realize there's so much money to be made if you can create quality service for these types of business owners outside of this little bubble. Right. And that seems to be kind of like where you tapped into, is like the creators who kind of come from that space, who have like real expertise and are really focused on teaching their knowledge and packaging their service around that. Right. So for you coming from that world and doing, because now you're in the online space, you're running online. So, yeah. What was that like? Right? How did you make those adjustments? Because it's two very different languages. All right. Yeah. Very different. It's radically different languages. Even how things are described. As I'm talking to some of these people, I'm like having to relearn lingos that I picked up as an internet marketer, and be like, okay, I see where we're describing the same thing in two completely different ways. All right. So what was that learning curve like for you?
I mean, I've definitely like dialed down some of the corporate speak, but some of it is so ridiculous. Like I had a running list of like silly ass corporate jargon for several years. And it was like my husband and I just like laughed and laughed and laughed over that. But our core competency and advantage is that, one, we are very high end, very high touch, and we get really measurable quantitative results quickly because we work with a small client list at a time. And so our whole concept, though, and what I hate about icky internet marketers is like they dumb everything just way, way, way down. And frankly, I think that's disrespectful because I think people are really smart and very capable of learning. And if they need to be empowered in order to believe that about themselves, like I'm here for that. I am here to provide that. I love like seeing potential in people. And then like my life's goal is just to bring people's potential out and to its like fullest form. Right. So this is totally like out of left field from your question, but so I've left some of the corporate jargon behind, but a lot of the principles are very helpful. And like our whole business is the marriage of business and expertise, right? And so we are like the ops team, we are marketing, we are sales, we are product development, we are customer service and success, we are the IT department, and the like fractional CEO and CFO and COO. We're overlaying all the processes, all the tech, all the SOPs. And we're marrying that with the methodology of our clients. But our goal, honestly, is like we're gonna bring you up to here. We're not gonna dumb anything down because we respect you. So I brought a lot of that corporate stuff along with
Yeah, I
us.
like that. I think it's also makes you very unique, right? Because if your ICP kind of comes from a little bit of that background, right? And they're coming into the online space, you're probably a breath of fresh air because they're hearing all these different random random terms. They're like, what are any of these people saying? Right. And then it starts to hear you talk, like you've been able to bridge that gap, and anyone who hears what you're saying, like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You can kind of pull them up, but then those who are like your ICP ones, who really need what you do and come from a similar background and are looking to kind of bridge that gap, you're speaking their language, right? When they're like, okay, I get exactly what she's saying. And then when they try to compare you to somebody else who's claiming to help them with the same thing, they're speaking foreign language to them. And they're like, yeah, they're definitely not going to give me the kind of results that Amanda can get me. Have you had people kind of mention that to you as far as like working with you mainly because they feel like they can understand like the value that you're able to give to them more than anything else, than anybody else that they've seen or try to compare you to?
We have heard some super nice things from clients recently, like you are the best, consulting firm or agency. People kind of like conflate those two things, but that I've ever worked with. And that's like super, super high compliment. We hear a lot that we are approachable yet very confident and competent. And so while we are maintain that air of like we're a top shelf high end service again, but we're very approachable, normal human beings. We're not uppity in any way, and we believe that people deserve to have that experience of feeling seen, heard, known, loved, respected, cared for, and helped. So many people, especially our female clients, be like, no one would help me. No one would listen to me or take me seriously. And so like putting, me and my team's brains on their vision and bringing life to that vision is the most gratifying thing in the world. I mean, we have female clients who are ages like 45 to 65, and they are kicking ass and taking names. They're not screwing around, and they're not to be trifled with either, but people don't take them seriously. And so our job is to elevate them and help them, take those ingredients and put them together in a way that is going to achieve, again, their fullest potential. There's just nothing better in the world than that to me.
That's awesome. And you did mention something kind of briefly, is like conflating consulting and agency. So
Mhm.
set the record straight. What's the difference between the two?
Agencies have such a bad rap, and so I don't like to be associated with agencies very much. That's typically you're talking about, like, your people who are making ad buys for you, and they're taking a cut of that, and they're charging you, so they're kind of double dipping on both ends, and that's not unethical as long as you're being transparent about that. But it's very, like, churn and burn, rinse and repeat. It's very agencies are most profitable when they are doing the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. And I respect that business model, but we are a consulting and implementation firm. And so we are not putting you through this like conveyor belt process. What we are delivering is within our MRR method, but it is bespoke. And, we're extracting the right information and putting it into our model, and then creating something. We're bringing something to life that is new and valuable. Um, and again, really trying to like capture the vision of the person. So a lot of our success has also come from we do work that is hard, and like it is hard to do, and it is mentally taxing to do. It is a lot of brain work. And people also say to us like, no, again, no one else would help me. No one would take me seriously. And so our willingness to like step up to the plate and take a challenge on has been a massive differentiator.
Yeah. What are the constraints that you're running into as far as like scaling that goes? Because I mean, if you're going to be that hands-on, right?
Hmm.
Um, you can't work with everyone. Like you have like
Right.
legitimate logistical constraints, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
And what are some of those?
Yeah. So, I mean, manpower for sure is a huge one, and we are very particular about who gets to be on our team. I have a like an always be recruiting. I am always recruiting, always, always, always recruiting. I know that you do the exact same thing, but I'm looking everywhere for talent, and I have this massive list of people to call upon. And so we have like our core team, and then we have a roster of contractors. And then I've got a list of people like in rank stack order of who I'm going to hire next based on, the skill gaps and, pain that we're feeling as a team. But it's actually a great opportunity for me to plug. We're running this MRR accelerator for the first 7 months of next year. And that will be our first shot to further productize our services. Still quite bespoke, very, unique outcomes for the unique individual, but we're going to take 5 creators through this process over January to the end of July. And we are guaranteeing an MRR number that is a multiplier of the, entrepreneur creator's existing revenue. So if you're at like 15K in revenue and you've started to demonstrate that like product market fit, I'm going to write in a contract that I'm going to get you to 50K within the 7 months, 50K MRR, or we're going to keep working with you until we achieve that number. This is the most premium service we've ever done. It's $140,000. And based on the ICP we're looking at, it takes a maximum of 4 months to make your money back, like in its entirety, once we hit that MRR guarantee number. So we've never guaranteed our services on that level, but I am really excited for the challenge. I feel extraordinarily confident in my team to do that. Because of the results we're producing for our current clients. And so that's a program that we could run, really dial in. We could run concurrent programs and kind of scale that way. But mapping our methodology on this level, there's also a group coaching and mastermind component of this and a lot of like luxury experiences. It is going to be so fun. Like we're all about fun. I almost went into hospitality. And so that comes forward like a lot. Like I'm really into gift giving and creating amazing experiences for people in my life, including, of course, my employees and clients.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm pumped. I'm pumped about that.
yeah, you kind of give a really great spiel on the accelerator. Who are the types of people that you want, because if you're giving a guarantee like that and you're going to be that hands-on, and that means like there's a real filter that you have to put in place because your reputation is on the line. So it's not like, oh, I just going to work with anyone with a pulse. It's like, no.
Right. No way. This is a major like exercise in curation, curating a group. So I mean, we're looking.
Let's say there are people who are listening who are interested in that.
Yeah.
What is your kind of like filter that'll determine if you're even going to entertain taking somebody on?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So we are looking for someone with subject matter expertise who is, ready to play ball and step up to the plate and like create and deliver on those high ticket offers, and is making between 10 and 25,000 in revenue, even if you're putting that together with duct tape and like holding your whole business together with string. Our special sauce will help, again, create that core offering, core ICP. We'll do all the validation exercises, all the strategy, the entire product ladder, all the marketing automation, all the landing pages. You get a complete brand overhaul, a new website. Again, we do all the tech, all the writing. We can't produce like video content for you, but we will enable the living daylights out of you to produce your products and services and lead magnets. But it's like fully automated, full bow tie funnel, dashboard of quantitative metrics, and a lot of really, really, really special goodies. But I mean, really just expert. Hopefully you're already sharing your expertise online, making between 10 and 25K. Typically, we're looking at folks who are between the ages of 30 and 60.
Okay. That's awesome. So if you fit those criteria, right, to kind of summarize is you need to, one, for that specifically, you can't be somebody who is just quite literally starting out because it'll be just too much work for you guys to even get that turnaround. So you need to have some type of proven process, right? You need to have a validated offer that you've already proven that people are willing to pay you money for. You need to be delivering on that offer, right? It may not be the most efficient delivery, but you better be getting people results, right? And then you need to be willing to implement and put in the work to ultimately get the outcomes that you desire, which I absolutely love. And I even love the aspect of how you're delivering doesn't need to be like fully fleshed out or even like perfect. So long as you're getting the results and you've kind of proven that you know how to get the sale, you're marketing enough to generate the revenues that you kind of need, you guys can kind of plug in and professionalize everything else as far as like on the back end and turn it into a fully finished product.
Yeah, like super well-oiled machine, like the most beautiful business you could possibly imagine is what we are putting together for each and every one of the creators in this group. Also, please don't email me if you're an asshole or you trick people or anything like that. But we're looking for strong values alignment. And I think those are the people who are listening to this podcast, but people who are in the world to help other people and are going to do that ethically, no icky, yucky sales or marketing tactics, but are genuinely wanting to help people and take their business to the next level. Those are the people we want to help.
For me, my filter is if you suck at what you do, like don't try and do business with me. It's just kind of, I'm just so over amateurs trying to teach people how to do things that they've never done. So I'm like, if you suck, you shouldn't even be listening to this. Go start building your skills, right? Go work for somebody for free and build.
Go be better.
Right. And then come back and you can start listening to the podcast. When you get good at what you do, we'd love to have you on the show.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You got your mind right about it. Yeah.
As we get ready to wrap up here, for those of you guys who are listening, one of the things I like to close out with is if you look at the last year, what's been like the biggest lessons that you've learned over the last year. So 3 high-level lessons that you learned over the last year if you're going to package them into little containers. And then most recent quote that's been like impactful for you.
Work in iterations, work in low risk iterations, look for opportunities and levers that you can pull that are low risk to execute, but have the potential to yield medium to high rewards. So that is something that we like live and die by at my organization. Also, continue to learn the importance of developing people that are around you and pulling people up the ladder. And that is a very valuable way to spend your time, is to invest in other humans who are worthy of that investment, right? Not somebody who is demonstrating with their behavior and their words that like they're absolutely disinterested. But if you've got people on your team, people in your life who want opportunities, give them opportunities. If you see something in people that they don't necessarily see, draw that out in them, point that out to them, and put them on a track where they can be successful and reach their full potential. And then, I got a big job. I feel like I'm doing 3 full-time jobs right now. We're on a little bit of a hiring spree, which is very nice, very helpful. I'm bringing some people in that I've been wanting to bring in for a year. And so that's super, super exciting. But I think I have learned that there is no such thing as work-life balance, and that I have to be crystal freaking clear about my priorities and about, putting my priorities into containers, to use your word, with regard to managing my health, which is still a situation that, this part of my daily life, and making sure that I'm correctly prioritizing my life. And that's something I look at on a not just weekly, but daily and sometimes hourly basis, because there's infinite things that you could do, but it's what is going to actually move the ball forward and help you achieve your goals, which if you don't have goals, you need goals. Otherwise, like, you don't know where you're going. Oh, I like this quote. Okay, this is, I'm going to forget the baseball player that said it, but if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up somewhere else. Yogi Berra. There you go. That's my quote right now. I like that.
Love it. Love it. So to kind of recap what you said, low risk iteration, right? People development, and work-life balance, of ultimately figuring out how to like prioritize appropriately. And I think ultimately strategy is the ability to prioritize resources and allocate resources appropriately and figure out what those priorities need to be. Right? So you're developing in your strategy and you're getting better as a strategist. You're just figuring out how to allocate resources and how to allocate priorities as efficiently as possible against infinite possibilities, right? And that's all it is.
Yep.
And then the quote, if you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up
somewhere else.
Somewhere else. I love that. Well, Amanda, it's been an absolute joy having you on. Where can anyone who's listening, where can people find you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You can follow me on LinkedIn, just Amanda Northcutt, CEO of Level Up Creators. And we can drop a free resource in the show notes and show description if that's cool. I think I'm going to drop maybe 2 if you'll let me. We have this Creator to CEO course that could also be like expert to CEO or entrepreneur to CEO, how to think about your business and make good decisions. And then we also have this free video course called the Creator Growth Kit. Could easily be the Expert Growth Kit or the Entrepreneurial Growth Kit. And amazing business owners from our niche have contributed videos on like how to run a successful business and monetize your following and expertise. So
Yeah,
those would be great.
I don't think those who are listening are going to be upset with two awesome free
Okay,
resources.
awesome.
So
Thank you.
we'll definitely include those in the show notes. For those guys who are listening, definitely check out Amanda. She's an absolute weapon when it comes to taking just your expertise and being able to package it into a business that one you're proud of, right? Which is the most important thing, is building businesses that you're proud of, which is why one of our things is like business on your terms, right? You got to be able to build a business that you're proud of, and then building a business that also gives you leverage, right? So check her out. Man, it was an absolute pleasure having you on with us. Those who are listening, we will have everything that you need to get in touch with her in the show notes. However you're watching, if it's on YouTube, if it's on Spotify, if it's on wherever you're listening or watching, we'll make it exceptionally easy for you to get in touch with Amanda. So until next time, stay calm, change lives, and have business on your terms.